She was thrown out with her child by the very people who once called her family homeless, hopeless, and broken. She had nothing but her child and her strength, until one encounter changed everything. What followed will leave you speechless. Stay tuned because you are about to watch a story filled with pain, hope, and redemption. Hello, family. Welcome to Storytime Mutually. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. The morning was quiet, too quiet for a woman who had just lost everything. Clara Benson, 28 years old, stood on the front steps of her late husband's family mansion with her 5-year-old son, Liam, pressed against her side. The iron gates behind them were locked. The door that had once been hers was now shut forever. Her suitcase, old and falling apart at the corner, held the few things she could grab before she was forced out. A couple of clothes, a photo frame with James's picture, Liam's favorite toy truck. Everything else was left behind. She turned around once more, hoping someone would open the door, change their mind, say it was all a terrible mistake. But no one did. James, her husband, had died in a tragic car accident just 3 months ago. They had been married for 6 years, and though their love was strong, it was never accepted by his family. Clara came from a poor background, while James belonged to the wealthy and proud Benson family. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Benson, had warned him never to marry a woman beneath his class. But James had followed his heart, and Clara had loved him with everything she had. When James passed, Clara was devastated. She thought his family would at least show kindness during her grief. Instead, they turned cold. "She only wanted your money. She's not even part of this family. Take your child and leave before we call security." Clara remembered every word, every look of hate. Now here she was, on the street with her child, heart shattered, future unknown. "Mommy," Liam said softly, tugging her hand. "Why are we outside? I want to go home." Clara bent down, brushing his curly hair back. Her voice shook as she spoke, trying to stay calm. "This is not our home anymore, sweetheart. But Daddy said it was." Tears stung her eyes. "I know, baby. I know." She stood, holding his tiny hand tightly. With no place to go, she began walking, unsure where her feet were leading. She knocked on a few old friends' doors, people she once knew when she worked in the hospital. Some didn't open. Some made excuses. "I'm sorry, Clara. It's complicated. James's parents are powerful. I can't get involved. I wish I could help." Everyone had a reason. Everyone was afraid of the Benson name. By evening, her feet were swollen, and Liam was too tired to walk. Clara found an empty bench in a quiet park. She laid out her coat and placed him on it, wrapping her arms around him to keep him warm. Her lips were dry. Her stomach ached with hunger. But none of it hurt as much as the fear of the unknown. What would she do tomorrow? Where would they go? She looked up at the sky, the stars just beginning to appear. "God," she whispered, voice cracking. "Please, if you can hear me, help us. I'm not asking for a miracle. Just please don't let my son suffer." Unbeknownst to her, someone was watching. Across the street, parked under the shadow of a tree, a sleek black car had been there for over an hour. Inside sat a man in a gray tailored suit, his eyes fixed quietly on Clara. His name was Nathan Carter, 35 years old, a quiet, successful millionaire who didn't enjoy the spotlight. He had come to the park to think, to get away from board meetings, cameras, and fake smiles. But when he saw Clara holding her son, shivering and trying to stay strong, something touched his heart. She wasn't begging. She wasn't crying loudly. She was just surviving. And somehow, that moved him more than anything else had in a long time. He leaned forward slightly. "Driver," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Wait here. I need to speak with her." And with that, he stepped out of the car. The night air was getting colder. Clara pulled Liam closer, trying to block the chill with her thin coat. She had no blanket, no food, no clear plan. But she refused to cry in front of her son. Not tonight. He was already fast asleep, his small hand still holding tightly onto her shirt. She closed her eyes and tried to stay strong. Then footsteps. Slow, careful footsteps approaching from the side. Clara's eyes opened quickly. Her heart raced. She held Liam tighter and looked up, alert and afraid. A man was standing there. Tall. Clean-cut. Wearing a soft gray suit and polished shoes. His face looked kind, but serious. "I'm sorry," he said gently, raising his hands so she wouldn't feel threatened. "I didn't mean to scare you." Clara didn't respond at first. She just stared, uncertain. "I saw you here earlier," he continued. "I was in my car across the road. I couldn't stop thinking about you and your son." Clara stood up slowly, still shielding Liam. "Why?" she asked, voice tired but steady. "Why were you watching us?" "I wasn't watching in a bad way," he replied softly. "I just noticed you. You look like someone who's carrying too much pain." Her lips trembled. "And what does that have to do with you?" "Maybe nothing," he said honestly. "But I can't drive away knowing you're out here in the cold with a child." Clara didn't know what to say. This man looked wealthy, well-groomed, safe. But people weren't always who they seemed. "I don't need charity," she muttered. "It's not charity," he replied. "It's help. I'm offering help because I can." She looked at him again. His eyes were calm, sincere. Something about him felt different. Not pushy, not fake. He added quietly, "I have a clean, empty apartment not far from here. It's private, safe. There's food. You can stay there for a few days. No questions asked." Clara hesitated. Every warning in her head screamed caution. But her arms were shaking. Liam needed warmth. And this might be their only chance. "I don't have any money," she whispered. "I didn't ask for money. I don't even know your name." "Nathan," he said gently. "Nathan Carter." Clara looked down at Liam. He was still sleeping, unaware of the decision hanging in the air. She looked back at Nathan. "How do I know you're not dangerous?" He reached into his jacket and calmly handed her his business card. Nathan Carter, CEO, Carter Innovations. She had heard of it before. A major tech company. She'd seen his name on a news article once, but he never liked being in public. A quiet millionaire. Still, it felt unreal. She finally nodded. "Just for tonight. For my son." Nathan gave a slight smile and stepped aside, motioning toward the car parked across the street. The ride was silent. Clara held Liam tightly, her heart still unsure but slowly softening. The car was warm, clean, and smelled of leather. She watched Nathan from the corner of her eye. He didn't say a word. He didn't even look at her strangely. He just let her breathe. 20 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a modern, peaceful apartment building. The lights inside were soft and welcoming. Nathan led her up to the third floor, using a key to open the door. He stepped back and let her walk in first. The apartment was modest but beautiful. One bedroom, one bathroom, a clean kitchen, soft sofa, and a table with fresh fruit and bottled water. There were even extra blankets folded neatly on the bed. Clara slowly stepped in, still holding Liam. She looked around like someone seeing a new world for the first time. "There's food in the fridge," Nathan said quietly. "And a phone on the table in case you need anything. You can stay here as long as you need. I'll come by tomorrow with more clothes and food." Clara turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. "Why are you doing this?" Nathan looked into her eyes. "Because once, I was the person sitting on a bench with nowhere to go. And someone helped me. This is my way of giving back." Clara blinked, stunned by the honesty in his voice. Nathan gave her a polite nod, then stepped out the door. Before leaving, he said softly, "You're not alone anymore. Good night, Clara." The door clicked shut. And for the first time in weeks, Clara locked it from the inside, held Liam close, and cried, not from fear, but from the strange feeling that maybe, just maybe, they had found a place to breathe again. Clara opened her eyes slowly. Sunlight peeked through the cream curtains, gently filling the room with warmth. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then she saw Liam curled beside her on the soft bed, breathing peacefully. The events of the night before came rushing back. Nathan, the park, the apartment. It hadn't been a dream. She was safe. Her son was warm. And they had slept through the night without fear. Clara sat up and looked around. The room was small but beautiful. The walls were painted soft beige, and a framed picture of flowers hung above the bed. A new toothbrush and soap lay near the bathroom sink. On the kitchen counter, she saw a note. "Good morning. Take your time. There's bread and milk in the fridge. I'll check in later, Nathan." Tears filled her eyes again. She hadn't felt this kind of kindness in a long time. She got up quietly, freshened up, and prepared a simple breakfast. Liam woke to the smell of toasted bread. He rubbed his eyes and asked, "Mommy, where are we?" Clara smiled softly. "We're somewhere safe, baby. A kind man helped us last night. Are we going to stay here forever?" She paused, unsure how to answer. "We'll stay here for now, until we're strong again." Liam nodded and started eating happily. Seeing him smile filled Clara's heart with new courage. By noon, there was a gentle knock at the door. Clara opened it slowly. Nathan stood there, holding a grocery bag and a box of children's books. "I hope it's okay I stopped by," he said with a kind smile. Clara stepped aside. "Yes, thank you." He walked in and placed the items on the kitchen counter. "I brought more food. And some books for Liam. I thought he might like something to read or look through." Liam peeked from the bedroom. When he saw the books, he ran over and picked one up.
"Wow.
"Is this for me?" Nathan smiled. "Yes, it's all yours." Clara watched the two of them. Liam hadn't looked that excited in a long time. Later, while Liam played, Clara sat with Nathan at the small dining table. "I owe you an explanation," she said quietly. "You don't have to," Nathan replied. "But I want to," she insisted. She told him everything. How she had loved James, how his family had never accepted her, how she was forced out the same week she was still mourning. She shared how friends turned away, how doors kept closing, and how she ended up on a cold bench in the park. Nathan listened carefully, never interrupting. His eyes stayed fixed on hers, showing empathy, not pity. When she finished, he leaned forward slightly. "You've been through so much, Clara. But you didn't give up. That tells me one thing." "What's that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not just strong. You're extraordinary." Clara looked away, embarrassed by the compliment. No one had ever called her that. Days turned into weeks. Nathan came by often, not in a forceful way, but gentle and respectful. He helped enroll Liam in a nearby daycare so Clara could rest and think about her next steps. Slowly, she started regaining her confidence. She cleaned the apartment every day, cooked meals for Liam, and even made a thank you basket of cookies and fruit for Nathan. One afternoon, when he came by, she handed it to him shyly. "I used to bake a lot before everything." He smiled as he took a bite. "You should open a bakery. These are amazing." Clara laughed softly, for the first time in a long while. "Maybe someday." Nathan's eyes sparkled. "I'd invest in it." She smiled but said nothing. In her heart, the seed of a new dream had been planted. That night, after Liam had gone to bed, Clara stood by the window, staring at the city lights. A thought crossed her mind. Just weeks ago, she was sleeping outside, hopeless and afraid. Now, her son was safe, her heart was healing, and for the first time in years, she had someone who believed in her. She whispered to herself, "Maybe life isn't over. Maybe it's just beginning." Clara stood by the window that night, still watching the city lights. She thought about everything Nathan had done, not just the apartment, but how he treated her with respect, never asking for anything in return. He had given her space, support, and time. And most importantly, he had seen her as a person, not a burden. Her heart felt lighter now. But deep inside, she knew it was time to rise. She couldn't depend on him forever. The next morning, after dropping Liam at the daycare, Clara sat in the kitchen, thinking hard. Nathan had once said, "You should open a bakery." She had laughed then, but now, The idea wouldn't leave her mind. She pulled out a notebook and began writing. Name ideas for the bakery. A list of recipes she used to bake. A plan for a small space. Her old dream that she once gave up. That evening, Nathan came by as usual. Clara greeted him with a small smile and offered him tea. I want to start something, she said as they sat at the table. He raised his brow. Tell me. I want to bake again. But not just at home. I want to open a small bakery. Something simple. Something I can call mine. Nathan looked impressed. That's a beautiful idea. What's stopping you? Clara sighed. I don't have the money. I don't have a place. I don't even know where to begin. Nathan leaned forward. Let me help you start it. Clara shook her head gently. You've already done too much. I'm not giving you a gift, Clara, he said seriously. I'm investing in you. In your dream. I believe in you. Let's build something together. I'll guide you through the process. Her eyes filled with tears. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She wiped her face and nodded slowly. Okay, let's do it. The next few months became a season of change. Nathan helped her find a small but lovely shop not far from the apartment. Clara chose the name Liam's Oven, a tribute to the little boy who gave her the strength to keep going. They painted the walls soft yellow and hung little lights by the window. Clara tested her favorite recipes: chocolate chip cookies, banana bread, and mini pies. She baked with love and passion. Her hands felt alive again. On opening day, Nathan stood by her side, holding Liam's hand. A small crowd came. Neighbors, daycare moms, and strangers walked in, drawn by the sweet smell and the soft music. One woman said, "There's something warm about this place. It feels like home." Clara smiled. That's all I ever wanted. Within weeks, Liam's Oven became popular. People not only came for the food, but for the feeling. It became a place where tired people came to smile again. Clara worked hard, waking up early, baking every morning, greeting every customer kindly. One day, a local reporter came to the bakery and asked to write about her story. When the article was published, the headline read, "From homeless widow to business owner, the sweet rise of Clara Benson." Clara was shocked when she saw her photo in the paper. Her phone buzzed with messages from people who had once ignored her. One message read, "Clara, I'm so proud of you. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me." She smiled and put the phone down. Forgiveness was easier now, because she had already moved on. That evening, as she closed the bakery and walked home with Liam, she looked up at the stars. Her son was safe. Her business was growing. And her heart was no longer carrying the weight of shame. At the door, Nathan was already waiting. He opened his arms, and Liam ran into them with joy. Clara stood watching them, her heart full. "I don't know what I did to deserve this," she said softly. Nathan looked at her and replied, "Sometimes life breaks us just enough to make room for something better." She smiled and reached for his hand. It was the beginning of something more than healing. It was the beginning of love. Clara held Nathan's hand quietly that night, standing at the doorstep of their apartment. Liam was already inside, playing with his toy cars and humming a tune. The wind was soft. The sky above was full of stars. And for the first time in many years, Clara's heart was calm. "You changed my life," she said, turning to Nathan. He smiled, shaking his head. "You changed your own life. I only walked beside you." "No," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "You saw me when no one else did. You didn't just give me a place to sleep. You gave me hope." Nathan stepped closer and looked into her eyes. "Clara, I've watched you rise with strength and grace. I've seen how you care for your son, how you've built something beautiful from nothing." He paused, gently holding her hand with both of his. "I didn't plan for this to happen, but somewhere along the line, I fell in love with you." Clara's breath caught. "I love your strength, your heart, your courage," he continued. "And I want more than just to stand beside you. I want to walk through life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears rolled down Clara's cheeks, but this time, they weren't from sadness. "Yes," she whispered. "1,000 times yes." Nathan leaned in and kissed her forehead gently, holding her like a treasure. 6 months later, they were married in a small, joyful ceremony surrounded by people who had witnessed Clara's journey. Liam walked down the aisle carrying a basket of flowers, smiling proudly. Everyone clapped as Clara walked in, not dressed like a poor widow, but like a strong woman who had conquered life's storms. They didn't have gold and diamonds all around them, but they had something deeper: love, peace, and family. Not long after the wedding, they welcomed a new baby girl, whom they named Ella Hope Carter. Clara held her close and whispered, "You were born from love, real love." As the months passed, Liam's oven continued to grow. Clara hired other struggling mothers and gave them opportunities. She told them, "You're not broken. You're just starting over like I did." She didn't forget where she came from, and she never looked down on anyone. One afternoon, Nathan walked into the bakery, holding a letter. "You've been nominated for Clearwater's Woman of the Year award," he said proudly. Clara laughed in disbelief. "Me? The woman who once slept on a bench with her son?" Nathan hugged her. "That's exactly why you deserve it." That evening, as they sat outside their house watching Liam play with baby Ella on the porch, Clara leaned her head on Nathan's shoulder. "Sometimes I wonder," she whispered, "what if you hadn't stopped that night?" Nathan smiled. "Then I wouldn't have found the best thing that ever happened to me." They sat in silence, the kind of silence that feels like music. From the bench in a cold park to a home filled with love and laughter, Clara had walked through pain and come out glowing. And now, her story was no longer one of shame, but of victory. It had been 2 years since Clara married Nathan. Life had become a beautiful rhythm. Each morning, Clara woke up to kisses from Liam and baby Ella. Nathan would make coffee and walk Liam to school before heading to his office. Clara managed Liam's oven, now expanded into 3 successful branches. She employed over 20 people, mostly single mothers and widows, giving them the same chance she had once been given. Her life was filled with gratitude, love, and peace. But one Wednesday morning, everything slowed when her past came back to her doorstep. Clara had just finished a business meeting at the main bakery branch when her assistant walked in, eyes wide. "Ma'am, you need to come outside." Clara stood quickly.
"Why?"
"What's wrong?" Her assistant hesitated. "They said they're family. They're outside the bakery gate. And they're kneeling." Clara froze. Her heart sank deep into her chest. She stepped out of the building, and there they were. Mr. and Mrs. Benson, James's parents. The very people who once threw her and Liam into the street. Their clothes were old and dusty. Their faces, once proud and cold, were now sunken and ashamed. Even Janet, James's younger sister, was there, tears falling down her face. When Mrs. Benson saw Clara, she burst into tears. "Please, please, Clara, forgive us." Clara couldn't believe what she was seeing. These were the same people who called her worthless, who had said she didn't belong. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice quiet but firm. Mr. Benson stood, trembling. "We've lost everything. The house, the company, James's savings. All gone."
Clara said nothing.
He continued, "We treated you horribly, and God punished us for it. We are ashamed, but we have nowhere else to go. Please, if not for us, for James." Clara's eyes filled with tears, but not from pain this time. It was from the deep ache of remembering the man she once loved and the family that tore her apart. "You threw me and your grandson into the street," she said, her voice shaking. "And now you come to me?" Mrs. Benson crawled on her knees. "Yes, we were blind.
Proud.
Wicked. But please, Clara, help us. You're all we have left." Clara took a deep breath. Her chest rose and fell as she held back the storm of emotion inside her. "I forgave you long ago. Not for you, but for James. But I have nothing to offer you today. Please leave." She turned and walked back inside. That night, Nathan returned from work to find Clara sitting on the couch, quiet and distant. He sat beside her and gently asked, "Are you okay?" Clara nodded slowly. James's parents came to the bakery. They've lost everything. They were begging. Nathan listened without interrupting. She looked at him. I told them to go. Nathan took her hand softly. That was your choice. And you had every right. But I still feel torn, Clara whispered. They hurt me deeply. But they're still James's family. Nathan gently rubbed her hand. Clara, if you want to help them, do it. Not for them, but for yourself. For James. For Liam. And maybe for peace. Forgiveness is not weakness. Sometimes it's freedom. She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. The next day, Clara asked to meet the Bensons at the old cafe down the street. When they arrived, they looked surprised but hopeful. I thought about everything, Clara began, and I'm not doing this because I owe you. I'm doing it because I loved James, and because I want to show my children what grace looks like. She handed Mr. Benson a small envelope. There's some money inside. Enough to rent a small place and start again. And I'll speak to one of my bakery suppliers. Maybe they can give you something to manage. Mr. Benson stood frozen. You're helping us? Clara nodded.
Yes.
But this doesn't erase what you did. You will never treat me or my children as less than again. Mrs. Benson cried and reached out. Thank you, Clara. We will never forget this. Janet stood and hugged Clara, whispering, I'm sorry. We were so wrong. Weeks later, things began to change. The Bensons started helping out with Liam after school. Mr. Benson would occasionally pick him up and take him for ice cream. Mrs. Benson visited often to see baby Ella. Slowly, they began to treat Clara not as the outsider, but as family. And Liam, with his innocent heart, accepted them. Mom, he said one day, Grandma says she's proud of me. Clara smiled. That's because you're someone to be proud of. And just like that, the same people who once turned their backs on her were now sitting beside her at the dinner table. Clara had found success.
But more importantly, she had found peace.
Because she had turned her pain into purpose, and her rejection into something greater. Forgiveness. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, kindly subscribe to my channel, like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Thanks for watching.